Hey everybody, thank you so much for hanging out with me here on a Quick Talk Raw. I love making these shorter versions of the podcast because they're a little more off the cuff. They're short, they're bite-sized, but they're still really cool. And I actually got someone on the line with me, a good friend of mine. I've been working with him on multiple projects. His name's Derreck Smallwood. A lot of you guys may know who he is. He helped me on the technical side, really build my entire boot camp. He also helps with some of my Send Gym support. But on top of that, he's a cleaning business owner. He has a computer science degree. He's a total nerd at heart. But he does clean and wash houses and clean windows and do all this stuff. He's got a company down in Arkansas. And we're going to talk about a couple really cool key bite-sized points here today. But Derreck, how you doing, man?
I'm doing great, man. It's a fantastic day here in Arkansas. I don't have any monkeys in my backyard, but we do have deer and raccoons.
Do you guys have like armadillos down there?
Yeah, I think the theory is that we eat them. Like they're on just for jokes. They're literally on menus around town.
And you guys, you also marry your cousins, right? That's pretty common.
And that's a true statement. I think a lot of the people here do.
Well, we don't have to go down that road, but no, I'm kidding. I have family from down south and really good people down there, but things move slower. I know your internet's not as good down there. That drives you crazy. But tell us a little bit about, your cleaning business, how me and you met. Originally, this goes back several years. I think you bought my Window Wealth ebook, which really we don't sell anymore for the most part. But where were you then? What's happened to get you to where you are now?
Well, I started Squeaky Clean a while back. Let's see, it's like 2006 or something, and really it was just an ends to a mean at the time, and I really didn't have much desire to grow it, but it was just paying the bills at the time, and I'd gotten into a lot of personal development reading with a lot of books that many have heard that listen to your show, but one that really struck home with me at the time was the Window Wealth book, because it was literally all the things I'd been learning from all the books and all the mentoring and people I'd talked to. I mean, this was like a step-by-step guide for what I was actually doing. So it was like just plug and play. And from there, I started to grow quite a bit. And once I got more involved with the community and of wonderful window cleaners and power washers that's out there, a lot of the success is from like WCRA and PWRA. That's helped tremendously. Getting advice from people that's been doing it was just a big help, because I decided that I wanted to go all in and just scale the thing. And then that's just kind of where I'm at on it. So
and that was what, a couple years ago? Was it 2.5 years ago?
Yeah, really, I just started trying to grow it like last year, really. I mean, because we had gotten up, we had really grown quite a bit. Last year, we grew 333%. And so every year before that was not quite as much. So
isn't it amazing, though, what, just the way you look at your business, how big of an impact and how quick it can happen? I mean, systems and automation, but really it's more of a mindset, isn't it? I mean, just the way you look at what you do every day, and then boom, your business triples in a couple seasons. It's crazy.
Yeah, it is. And actually the way just the brand story that I've created with the systems and everything, I was talking to a competitor today. We share lunch all the time. We hang out. We share, we have each other do jobs for one another sometimes. And, he was even just complimenting the work I'd done with it and saying how, there's in the area, there's not really another business that's actually got that down. They might be a little bit bigger or they might not be, but regardless, everyone knows about Squeaky Clean in the areas that we service. And we've even grown to a point where we've been servicing multiple states, and then we've just, scaled back, and, we've done different things. So,
well, it really is incredible. It's incredible what you've done. You do you're really good with the web internet side. So we were talking earlier, and you said you got 4 or 5 jobs off your website just today. And, stuff like that intimidates some of these guys. A lot of our listeners have really small businesses, and if they could do $100,000 in revenue, that would be amazing for them. Other guys are stuck at 200 or 300. But really, it's these little shifts and creating a good brand and having systems and building a team. And, I talk about that stuff all the time, so I don't want to, be too redundant with it. What I'd really like to talk to you about is our conversation we had yesterday. And I did a short Periscope about it, actually, just a silly, goofy one. But you had heard somewhere, some guy talking about, how we manage our time, right? Because we all work hard all day. We do tons of stuff. And sometimes we have a temptation when we go to bed to say, wow, I'm really tired. I did a great job today. But that's not necessarily true, right? Because it's not just working hard. It's working hard on the correct things. So tell us a little bit about this whole $10 an hour category, $100 an hour category, 500 and 5,000. What was this guy talking about? Because I think it's going to be a huge value to the listeners.
A lot of times in life, we have a lot of irons in the fire, so to speak. And so as an entrepreneur or, even the owner of a company, who's holding you accountable for what you're doing every day? And so I've been really trying to work on my focus on what I'm working on. And I wanted to focus on a work-life balance. And there's a whole nother part that we could talk another time about. It's the 7 pillars of life that I focus on. But I really wanted to hone in on this entrepreneurship scorecard. And I heard this concept from Dan Martell on a podcast that I listened to. It really struck home because it separates what I'm doing and the value that I'm providing to humanity throughout the day. So every 2 hours, my phone just makes a little beep, and I just I go to my spreadsheet, and I value the last 2 hours. Was I doing 1 hour of $10, 1 hour of $100? I mean, what did I do in that time span that provided value to someone or to myself, or what happened? And so I'll go through each category and just kind of talk about what each, 10, 100, 500, and 5,000 for me would be. But in relation to the cleaning industry, when I'm doing like a $10 thing, it's like manual labor. I'm doing the cleaning. I'm out doing the jobs. I'm running errands, and this is working in the business. And that's just the typical average amount that you would pay someone to do this work.
Let me interrupt you real quick before you keep going, because I was actually talking to my kids, and you ask a kid, how do you make money? And the first answer, when I first brought this question up, because I talk to them about business all the time, and they're very little, but why not start now, right? So I say, how do you make money? And their answer is, well, by working really hard, right? And that's a traditional standard answer. I mean, I think most of America would say that without even thinking, but it's actually not true, right? Because it's not about working hard. It's about working hard on the right things. That's how you make a lot of money. Now, there's value in hard work. You can sleep like a baby when you work hard. You put food on the table. You take care of your family. But if you have bigger ambitions, if you want to grow something big, if you want to build wealth and leave a legacy and all that stuff, you have to make sure you're working on the right things, right?
Precisely. Yeah, absolutely. And that was where the, just valuing my time is come from, because if I, in theory, and I guess it's not really a theory because it works, but if I'm providing a consistent flow of $500 an hour to something, eventually that reciprocates back to me.
Yeah.
I mean,
I told Maverick that the guy who works in our yard in Costa Rica, he's awesome. He's a Nicaraguan guy, really nice guy, sweet guy, works his butt off, man. He shows up on time every day, very diligent. It's hot. He's doing, trimming bushes and sweeping around the pool and doing all this stuff. And we pay him $20 a day to do that job. And that's actually pretty good money for that line of work where we are. And I feel bad doing it just because things are so different down there. People that do labor jobs make $1 or $2 or $3 an hour. And so I asked my kids, I'm like, does Milton work really hard? And they're like, yeah. I said, Milton made $20 today for working really hard. So you don't make a lot of money by working hard, people. It's by providing value to the world, like you said. So the more value, so let me just say this. The new answer my kids say when I ask that question, if I say, Tucker, how do you make money? He's going to tell me, Dad, by providing as much value to as many people as you can. That's kind of what I've trained them to say. And as a owner of our company, the whole day can get away from us working on low-level tasks. It doesn't mean that they're not important, but you could spend 1, 2, 5, 10 years doing that and not even realize you're doing it.
Yeah, absolutely. So on the other value ladders, like so, $10 and $100 an hour is working in the business, and 500 and 5,000 for me is working on businesses. So, if I'm at $100 an hour on my time, then that's going to be building relationships with customers. In my world, the digital world, it's content creation, publishing content or post production. But when you're out doing those sort of things, maybe it's working on your website for your cleaning business or whatever it is. That's going to be the $100 in that category, and then $500 an hour. I'll give myself a one there. Whenever I'm, working on systems in my business, or I'm focusing on the architecture of the business. Maybe I'm doing an operations manual, or planning with my team what we're doing, because that's going to create value for that week. If I'm really bringing everybody together with leadership and mentoring, maybe it's coaching one-on-one with a few guys. I mean, that goes a long ways. And then $5,000 an hour would be actually product innovation, marketing automation, and leveraging growth through joint ventureship and strategic partnerships. Now, if your end goal, you can build the entrepreneurship scorecard based on whatever your end goal would be. So if your goal is to provide so much value to create a revenue of a certain figure, then you would just adjust those four categories to whatever fit your needs, So
yeah. I mean, the thing's totally elastic and flexible, but it's the concept I want people to get. It's amazing, right? Because if you work, for example, on your website, the $500 an hour category for you, what you're doing is you're trading hours of your life to do something. And the thing that you're doing is it has a multiplier on it, because once it's done, it's going to have more value for you every minute, every hour, every night while you're sleeping. It's just going to harvest more leads. It's going to convert better, whatever it does. So it's like if you invest in systems in your business, those systems could provide little itty bits of either cost savings or revenue increases or upsells or whatever it is for years and years and years, but you only worked on it that one time. But if you go out and you're knocking a door and you're making sales, that's not a scalable thing. There's not really that much of a multiplier on it. It's a lower level activity. So, I think it's important. I mean, what do you think? Maybe once a week we all just, sit down and examine what we did and just give ourselves an honest ranking? Is that the idea here?
Yeah, I think really you use that more internally to set your value up for the day. I think if you had a mentor coach, what one could do is if you had someone accountable for the value that you're wanting to be putting out, if you had a buddy that held you accountable, then you could email them your value for the day that you put out, and they could hold you accountable to the figure you told them you wanted to meet. So if I'm wanting to put out $7,000 in value every day, and if I come short, then I need to work really hard to make sure that doesn't ever happen again. So I would just email that to my accountability partner, and they would just kind of help mentor me to see what's going wrong, where my focus is lacking, and et cetera. And on top of that, on Fridays, I review my entire week and give myself 1 through 10 ratings on how I did in finance, family, love, health, hobbies, and my mission. And so if I didn't work really well in any of those categories, then I need to do a better job of that. So maybe I'm providing so much value it's taken away from my family and everything else. So I need to probably balance that out a little bit better. So it's a good way for me to trend how I'm working and make sure I'm working at my fullest potential.
Yeah, and you know what? Accountability is the key word, because the hardest person to lead in the world is ourself. I know it is for me, and it is for pretty much everybody. And business is a team sport. You don't be a lone ranger and win big at business. You have to, network with people. One of the coolest parts about the boot camp we have, Derreck, is the community. The private Facebook group. A lot of these guys are friends. They talk in mastermind groups together. They network together, because it's not like you need some golden piece of information that's going to change everything for you. I mean, if you're really small, there are some major things that you can learn that will change a lot. But really, it's more about executing on what you already know. And I just don't see people sticking with something like this if they're not doing it with someone else. If they don't have a mastermind group, or they're part of the boot camp or something. If you have someone in your hometown that you can meet with for coffee once a week, accountability is huge, or else you just won't stick with this stuff. It'll fizzle out like everything else we do, right?
I think that's probably the most powerful thing about whenever you and I had come up with the idea of the growth vault, because I felt like that would be a great thing to allow people to join free of charge and to meet other people that are in the same industries that they are in, and to get real advice, real mentoring, and real help to help them succeed. And that way they don't have to drive all the way across the country to a get-together with 50 people or what have you. But not that there's not any value in that. It's just it's instant gratification with help that you might be needing. And pairing that with all the resources that we've put in the actual vault, the members area, and all that stuff is just so powerful for small businesses looking for maybe that gap that they're missing in the value that they're providing to their customer. Absolutely. Because ultimately, they'll make more money if they're providing the best customer experience that they can possibly do, and they're providing the best coaching and training for their employees to be successful out in the field. So if you have a resource like that and it's completely free of charge, it was an amazing thing. So I really was glad to start, putting together something for that. And I'm really happy that, we'll continue to be able to contribute to that arsenal of just goodies, really, and provide great value to people to help, see them succeed. That was one of the biggest things that I took away from when we launched the boot camp is just being able to help, families that, there were some success stories that we were getting some feedback on where, maybe they were looking to get out of the business because it was so stressful and they had no direction. But then after, we're hearing stories of, they're doing really well. And that was a really good thing. That was my why. That's why I'm doing what I'm doing. That's why I'm at the keyboard all day long, ones and zeros. I sleep ones and zeros, and just that way I can provide that value and that connection for people to be successful.
I love it, Derreck, and that's why we work well together. We both have a heart to help other people, and really that's the key to success. I mean, even this podcast is a way for me to provide more value to more people. It's a multiplier, and as we move forward, it's a young podcast. We had 6,000 downloads of this podcast in the last 30 days, and that just blew my mind because, people need this information, and I didn't invent this stuff. You see, what I'm doing is I'm distilling information. I'm a dot connector. So I consume information. I have my own life experience from the things that I've struggled with, failed at, and succeeded at. And what I do with the podcast and the boot camp is I'm repurposing things that work, that everybody knows that works. Even the people I interview that have $5 million businesses, and one guy had a $17 million business. These people, they're not aliens with superpowers. They're just people, but they do the right things in the right order. And so I think, the boot camp's cool because, in the Growth Vault too, which is free, because it just helps get clarity to you in a service business to take all this overwhelming information and say, okay, where do we start? What's step 2? What's step 4? That's what's so powerful about it is we're consolidating all of these ideas. So listen, I don't want to take too long here. It's a quick talk raw. I wanted to get you on here, Derreck, so people could meet you. You do a lot of important stuff for the boot camp and for Send Gym, and you're just a good guy, and your business is doing well. It's grown. I appreciate you. Appreciate our friendship. Any parting words?
Just keep on keeping on, dude. That's the way she blows. That's the way she blows.
Is that what they say down in Arkansas?
I guess so. Yeah. No. I guess in parting, man, just, if you're listening to this and you're maybe struggling with a few things and you just need some answers, thegrowthvault.com is a great resource to connect with some other people, even Josh and I and some of the rest of our team, and we'd be glad to help you out.
Absolutely. Now you go eat some armadillo. I'll talk to you later.
Hey, thanks for hanging out, friends. And from all of us here at the Quick Talk Podcast team, we hope you loved today's show. We hope that you were inspired to become a doer and not just a listener. Apply what you've heard today in your own business and watch things change for the better. Lastly, remember that all the money in the world can't save your soul. Seek first the kingdom of God, my friends. We'll see you next time.
For more information about the Quick Talk Podcast or Joshua's other businesses, visit our website, quicktalkpodcast.com. Have a blessed day.